Only a select few get the chance to explore the mysteries of outer space, but tragedy and loss are universal. After the crew of the Columbia met a shocking fate in early 2003, the brave men and women aboard the doomed shuttle were put to rest as heartbreak swept the nation. Spaceflight isn't exactly the safest of activities. Back in 1967, 2 years before humans first stepped on the moon, the 3 men of the Apollo 1 mission lost their lives in a fire during a launch pad training accident. Almost 20 years later, in 1986, the Challenger space shuttle sent its 7-person crew hurtling into the Atlantic Ocean after it ignited in mid-air. Mechanical failure was to blame in both instances and led to changes in NASA safety procedures. Such changes, though, didn't preclude the possibility of further accidents. Case in point, the 2003 Columbia Space Shuttle disaster.
7 astronauts have died, their families shattered. The space program has been dealt a terrible blow.
On February 1st of that year, the Columbia was re-entering Earth's atmosphere after spending 16 days in space conducting research into microgravity. The time in orbit was a success, and the 7-person crew even had a little chat with the members of the International Space Station. That being said, there was some cause for concern. 82 seconds into liftoff, a piece of the Columbia's foam insulation broke off from the shuttle and struck its left wing. Mission Control told the crew not to worry. 16 days later, and 16 minutes before the Columbia would have touched down in Texas, the shuttle exploded during re-entry. All 7 crew members died during the remainder of their descent to Earth. David M. Brown, Rick D. Husband, Laurel B. Clark, Kalpana Chawla, Michael P. Anderson, William C. Willie McCool, and Ilan Ramon. The bit of foam that tore off the shuttle during liftoff had damaged the left wing just enough that the extreme temperatures experienced when re-entering Earth's atmosphere tore the ship apart. 5 years later, in 2008, NASA said that the crew likely survived the explosion but asphyxiated from a lack of oxygen or hitting something as their shuttle spun out of control and was torn apart. The crew's remains were eventually gathered and returned to their families. 3 crew members are interred at Arlington National Cemetery. In 2008, NASA released a full 400-page public report about the Columbia disaster. Among many other things, the document describes the horrific confluence of, quote, 5 events with lethal potential that killed the crew members: cabin depressurization, a dynamic rotating load environment, physically traumatic injuries, exposure to a near vacuum aerodynamic acceleration and cold atmospheric temperatures, and collision with the ground. Tragically, and absurdly enough, the crew's gloves might have contributed to their deaths by making it more cumbersome to react to events. As mentioned, the remains of 3 members of the Columbia crew, Michael P. Anderson, David M. Brown, and Laurel B. Clark, are interred at Arlington National Cemetery in individual graves. Those wishing to pay their respects can find these individuals in Section 46. The other crew members were interred according to their and their families' wishes. Kalpana Chawla, for instance, was cremated and had her ashes scattered in Zion National Park in Utah. For Mint, her father said, "She always dreamt of the stars, and somehow I feel she dissolved into the stars that day." In 2003, President George W. Bush also signed the Columbia Memorial Act into law, which placed a memorial to the entire 7-person crew in Arlington the following year.
The cause in which they died will continue. Mankind is led into the darkness beyond our world by the inspiration of discovery.
Following the Columbia disaster, the Columbia Accident Investigation Board told NASA that it needed to find and remove the safety problems plaguing its missions. Such problems include anything from lax behavior among staff to replacing outdated materials like the foam that led to the Columbia's destruction. The report stated, "The shuttle is now an aging system, but still developmental in character. As of April 2024, there has yet to be another shuttle catastrophe."